y'all, thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. The topic for today's video is 5 reasons why I decided to give birth at a birthing center versus at your typical hospital setting. What I'm most excited about today's video is this video is going to be the first of a birthing series that I'll be doing for you guys, because I've had a lot of y'all asking me about my birthing experience, and I want to make sure that I provide you with the knowledge and information and wisdom that you need in order to make the best decision for you and your family when it comes to childbirth. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first reason why I decided to give birth in a birthing center is because I wanted to work with a midwife. Now, typically, midwives have a more natural perspective on childbirth. They're big on as little intervention as possible, and they believe that the woman's body, that there's this instinct in her that that she already knows how to birth. They're big on just allowing the woman to birth, and they're there to support, they're there to encourage, but just kind of allowing the woman the body to do whatever it needs to do. Whereas OBGYNs, on the other hand, have a more medicalized view of birth. When I say medicalized, I mean they see birth as a medical event, normally something that they want to intervene in. They're not really big on allowing the woman to experience every aspect of birth and the fullness of the childbirth experience. And a lot of times they have this perspective that they're saving women from childbirth. And so, like I said, I definitely wanted to go the more natural route with the midwife. I believe that my body is fearfully and wonderfully made. I believe that God designed my body to birth. I believe that there is no flaw in His design, and that's why I really wanted to use a midwife. One documentary that I credit to really just changing my perspective when it came to childbirth and even looking into doing a midwife, it's called The Business of Being Born. If you could find the documentary on YouTube, I would encourage you to watch it. One of the things that the documentary talks about is that how the United States has one of the highest C-section rates in the entire world. Also, what it touches on is that the United States has one of the highest infant mortality rates and one of the highest maternal mortality rates in all the industrialized nations. One of the greatest correlations that they saw is that in a lot of the other nations, midwives were the main caregiver during childbirth, whereas in America, we've transitioned into OBGYNs being the primary caregiver whenever it comes to childbirth. And not to say, there is a place for OBGYNs, there is a place for technology and medicine. There are women and babies that, that they save lives every single day. But what the documentary is saying, that there's not as much medical intervention. It's not as needed. It doesn't have to be done as often as it is. And so definitely, like I said, take a look at that documentary, and like I said, just kind of make the decision for yourself. Also, another reason why I wanted to use a midwife is because the midwifery model, it takes a more holistic approach when it comes to childbirth. The midwifery model says that childbirth is physical, it's emotional, and it's spiritual. And I love that they looked at childbirth from all of those angles, whereas OBGYNs normally look at it just a purely physical event. One book that I read is called Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, and it's by Ina May Gaskin, the world's leading midwife. And one of the examples that they gave in there, it was talking about a woman who was giving birth, and her birth was stalling. She was progressing, her cervix was dilating, but it got to a point where she just stalled and she couldn't go any further. She was like at 6 or 7 centimeters, and the midwife said, hey, let's talk. Is there anything that you fear? Is there any fear that you have about childbirth? And and the woman said, yes, there is this fear that they had. And the midwife listened to the woman's concern. She encouraged her. She assured her that everything was going to be okay. And after that woman was able to express that fear and feel supported and respected and loved in that moment, her labor literally went from like a 6 to a 10, and she was ready to push that baby out. And so, like I said, I just think that's a great example of the emotional and spiritual connection that also goes along with childbirth. And like I said, it's so important for the woman to feel respected, for her to feel secure, for her to feel loved, for her to feel supported. And that is just what I felt that I would receive and with using a midwife as well. All right. So the second reason why I wanted to use a midwife, why I wanted to birth at a birthing center, is because a lot of the policies and procedures in the hospitals don't allow you to birth past a certain time before they interfere. And so at my birthing center, throughout my entire pregnancy, my midwife was telling me it's not uncommon for first-time moms to be in labor for 24 hours. So she was kind of, telling me to just be patient with the process and, allow the birth to happen and really just surrender to the birthing experience. And like I said, a lot of hospitals, they try to intervene if it's 10, 15, 20 hours and you haven't seen, there hasn't been any or a lot of progress or what they want to see, then they'll start, giving you that medicine to get those contractions going. They'll start, interfering with the birthing process. And a lot of times maybe your body isn't ready. It's just, kind of working on its own time, and it may take a little longer versus, other women, they may be quicker, but the hospital, they're not tailoring it to you. They're just saying, hey, if all women aren't, if the contractions aren't going by this time, if there's not significant progress, we're going to speed it up. And that's been a lot of times that you see is they'll interfere with the natural birthing process, and then they'll, the baby will go into distress or something. They'll have to do a C-section to save the baby, but they would have never had to save the baby if they wouldn't have interfered with the natural process. And so if you do whatever provider you choose, really understand the policy and procedures on how long they're going to allow you to birth and what is their policy and afterwards if you're not making progress, and what their understanding of progress is for you. All right. So number 3, the third reason why I decided to do birth at a birthing center is because you're allowed to eat. Now, one quote that I heard during pregnancy is that childbirth is like a marathon, and you guys, this is so true. Childbirth takes a lot out of you. It is literally just physically exhausting, and I could not imagine not being able to eat during that. I mean, a lot of hospitals don't allow you to eat once you go into labor, once you check into labor. And if, in my eyes, you need that nutrients, you need that energy, whether it's drinking or snack. I had a lot of snacks during mine, just to be able to carry you through. If you're in labor 10, 15, 20 hours and on an empty stomach, and there's nothing to keep you, there's nothing to to boost your energy. That way, by the time you get to the end, you're able to push that baby out, because that's where a lot of the the exertion is as well. And so one of the big factors of me doing birth at a birthing center was being able to eat. Okay. Number 4, at a birthing center, at my birthing center particularly, there was no maximum number of people. That's something to consider as well. A lot of hospitals, they only allow about 1 to 2 people to be in the labor and delivery room with you while you're giving birth. So me personally, I didn't want a lot of people. I wanted it, just intimate. I didn't want, an audience. I just wanted to be able to focus on what I needed to do. But a lot of, if you're a person that wants to throw, a block party and have the whole family come whenever you're giving birth, that's something that you want to keep in mind as well. My birthing center, they had a living room area. They allowed people, as many people as I wanted, into the birthing room. So that's something to consider as well. Number 5, giving birth at a birthing center allowed more mobility. A lot of times when you are giving birth at a hospital, they have the fetal monitoring, and so it goes around you, and that really limits your mobility. And for some women, you know, the pain of their contractions, they don't want to move at all. That feels best to them. But for a lot of women, what feels best to them is being able to move around. I know for me, I did tons of walking. That really helped with the pain. I birthed on a birthing ball, like a lot of, you know, pretty much the entire time I rotated my hips on a birthing ball. I rocked back and forth on the birthing ball until it was time for me to get in the water. And so just having that freedom, that mobility throughout the entire time really will help you a lot in the birthing process. All right, you guys, so those were my 5 reasons why I decided to give birth at a birthing center. I would like to hear from you guys. You know, if you have any questions or if there's a topic that you want me to touch on during this birthing series, please comment down below. Also, I will include the link below for the Business of Being Born documentary, as well as Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. I pray that this video provided you guys with information and just knowledge. That way that you're able to make the best decision for you and your family when it comes to childbirth. All right, you guys, y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.